On today's Target Discovery series, we're going to talk about social media. And the idea is, okay, we all know what social media is. Most government agencies are using it in one way or another. As an end user, you may use it in your personal life if you have a disability, or in your professional life, or you might create it for whatever reason. So we're kind of looking at it from two ends, and that is, okay, how do I create social media, and what do I need to do in terms of accessibility for all? And if I'm trying to access social media, what do I need to know? And we're going to talk about kind of the overall social media with specific examples, and then there's the different ways you access it, either a web browser or a mobile application, etc. So we'll kind of try to cover all of that with some of the main ones. We're going to talk about Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat. Those are the ones we're going to focus on today. Can't do everything. Those are the most common that are still especially used in the workplace and that the government is using for organizations. Now, personally, you might use some newer social networks, or you might use LinkedIn for professional networking, but we're not going to get into all of that today. So we're mainly going to cover the ones that I talk about. Although, again, feel free to ask a question in the Q&A if you're attending live, and I'll try to answer that. So before we get started, for those of you listening to this recording as a podcast, we really encourage you to check out the rest of our Discovery Series podcasts. We got some great ones, including on some Android accessibility and using Chrome extensions for accessibility. Those are some pretty interesting ones that you might find on there. And we're also doing a series called Removing Barriers with some great participants. We have the American Association for People with Disabilities coming up, and we had Pete in the past, another great organization, and we interview some key team members at these service providers about how they remove barriers for people with disabilities and how that can apply other places. So we encourage you to check it out. But you are here. You don't want to hear about that anymore. You want to learn about accessible social media. And again, the idea is you have to understand the audience, or as an end user, you have to understand the difference between the technology, the assistive technology that you use, and then the actual social media technology. So, for example, an individual who is blind, if you look at the screen right now, you see there's a man in a suit wearing goggles and some sort of man-made gizmo on his head, and on the table is I like to think of it as some sort of antiquated assistive technology to be able to read the word social media on the wall. Most of you are not using some homemade concoction, some Inspector Gadget situation. Instead, you are using assistive technology that is common and well known, whether that's VoiceOver on a Mac or an iPhone, or it's the JAWS screen reader. Someone who is blind and accessing social media needs everything to be able to be navigated by a keyboard, or worked with a keyboard, and everything that is visual has to be described in an audio way, so that even if you can't see it, you can still have access. So that's just one of many examples. I'm not going to go through all of them because they'll just come up as we go along. Kind of the different disability groups and how it relates to social media. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to share my screen for those of you who are attending the webinar or watching on YouTube. And then I will also describe that, of course, for anyone who needs that. So let me just open up Chrome here. Okay, so right up front, I am sharing Chrome and with Twitter, open the Twitter application within Chrome. The Target Center Twitter interface, if you're logged in, not as someone visiting the Target Center site, but as the person tweeting. And first of all, how does the whole thing navigate? Well, again, it is screen reader accessible, but is it necessarily usable? Hard to say. So there are other alternatives to using the actual social media applications that you can get. You can even just Google it yourself. You can find all sorts of accessible Twitter alternatives. But it's also important to keep in mind that some of the alternatives that you might be using to create Twitter content may take away some of the accessibility. So, for example, we currently use two applications called TweetDeck, which is from Twitter, and Buffer, which is another third-party application for scheduling tweets. And these do not allow you to add alt text right now to your tweets. And so that's a problem for pictures. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in Twitter, the actual Twitter application on your desktop and on your phone. Now, a lot of them have it on their product roadmap to start adding that ability to do the alt text. So, and then there are other apps called. There's one I think called Easy Tweet, and they have a more simplified Twitter interface, so you don't have as much stuff to navigate as the user in terms of accessibility. So, I think it's called Easy Chirp, actually, not Easy Tweet. So they didn't have to use the word tweet there. They can get all cute with chirp. So those are things to be aware of. But really, most of you are inside Twitter doing your tweeting. So let me just show you right off the bat that you need to go to part of your site. Where your logo is, and go to your profile and settings, and under settings you need to go down to accessibility. And under accessibility, you need to make sure that you check image descriptions. And this doesn't even require it. This just allows you to be able to do it. A lot of people are advocating for this to be by default in the future. But you just check the box, compose image descriptions. And now you can have the ability to add alt text to your images. There's also a setting for video autoplay, which is considered an accessibility feature, so that someone doesn't have to press a button, navigate to the tweet, and press a button to have the video play. Other people might find this to be an annoyance, and of course, individual people who access through different applications access to your Twitter content, they may have their own settings turn off autoplay. So, just something to be aware of. But the real thing to focus on here is this is how you turn on alt text. Now I go back to my Twitter home and I say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tweet. And I want my tweets to kind of speak for themselves in that I'm putting inside the actual content a lot of the information that might be in a video or in a photo, so that if somebody doesn't get the photo because they don't get the tweets that way, or if they have a disability, it can give them additional cognitive information, or if they are low vision or someone who is blind, it can just give them a description. You want to put as much good information in your 140 characters as you can. So, I might say here I'm live tweeting from my Discovery series. And now, first and foremost, I want to say one little tip for you is that I have a hashtag Discovery series, and I did a capital D and a capital S and no space between for the hashtag. That's the accessibility best practice. And most hashtags that you see might have the lower cases, but and it's okay if you're doing one word, but if it's a 2 or more word hashtag, for accessibility reasons, you're supposed to capitalize each new word. So for this one, it says live tweeting from my Discovery series, webinar, and then with a photo including alt text or something. Let's say webinar. I'm typing a webinar on accessible social media. Okay, so now I've composed a tweet and I'm selecting the photo or video button, and now I just gotta find a picture somewhere that I want to put up for this example. Here's the one from the social media. So I found a photo, the one that was on the main screen for the webinar here, of the man wearing the gizmos pointing to social media. So I open that up to add it to my tweet. And I wait for it to upload. And as soon as I upload it, it may be difficult to see, but on the bottom of the photo, there's in white text on a black background, it says add description. And when I click on that, it opens a much larger version of my photo, and it says describe this photo for the visually impaired. So here I write an alt text where I say man wearing suit and using an old-fashioned gizmo pointing at social media. Writing on wall. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just trying to convey what it is. I press apply, and now I've added this alt text, and now I can tweet it, and anyone who gets it will now, and this is happening in real time here, will see the photo, and if they are using a screen reader, it'll read out loud to them what's in that photo. So I think that's how you do the alt text. Now, if you were doing something more complicated, like a graph, you might just provide a simple description, but then provide the actual information through a link or through the tweet. If you're doing a video, it gets even more complicated. Unless you have captioned it, open captioned it on your own, there's no way to add captions inside Twitter video, especially if you're doing it from your phone. You're even more limited to what you can do. You're just trying to capture some video and share it. So you have to think about that, how you're gonna, you'd have to all the text somehow is gonna have to be in your tweets as well as the video if you're gonna be truly accessible. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, Instagram and Facebook, we're gonna talk about some other things with video that are a little different. But now you can't see this, but while I have you here and we're talking about Twitter, I'm going ahead and log into my work iPhone and open Twitter. And if you have your work smartphone here and you have it already turned on alt text, you could do the same thing. If I create a new tweet and I attach a video, now I'm saying adding a photo on. And I'm sorry if you guys hear that fire alarm. No, the fire truck going by. Normally we're in our webinar room, but today there was an internet problem there, so I'm out in my office. So I apologize for any background noise. But I'm in Twitter, and I'm saying I'm adding a photo on Twitter with the iPhone app and alt text. And then in the same thing, I just tap on the picture where it says image description, and I can say, photo of construction at DC waterfront, and I apply that, and now I can tweet that. So from my phone or from my desktop, I can use Twitter to share content. And now, in an ideal world, this will show up pretty quickly. Here it is. Okay, so now I see it on my Twitter feed. Sent a picture here of the DC waterfront down the street, the fish market, and under construction. Now if I click on the picture, I just want to show you this, once it's submitted here, I can't really do anything with this. I can delete the tweet, I can reply to the tweet, but I can't add alt text anymore. So at this point, I'm kind of stuck. So you got to do it up front, that's all. Just be aware, do it up front, and it's going to be included, that alt text. Again, the more you can actually put in your actual tweet, the better. But it is good that they add this alt text ability inside of Twitter. Okay, so we got lots of Twitter stuff coming in. Twitter is very active, always new stuff coming in, new trends. You just have to, trust us about the accessibility of Twitter, and depending on the tools that you use and information coming in. So there's a couple of things before we move on that I just want to mention to you about Twitter, and then we'll go to Facebook. First of all, Twitter, as you know, is about quick and easy passing of information, short information, or maybe sharing, retweeting. So, a lot of times it's really built through 140 characters to be something that is inherently accessible and useful, especially maybe to people with learning disabilities, etc. You can also, join disability-related groups. Follow the right people and really develop yourself a nice online network. So that a lot of these social media companies are very responsive. So you get a group together, make some accessibility recommendations. Even if there are things that are missing on your front, they might be able to change that. So that's good to know. Again, it's basically text-based, and they have their own accessibility team there. So I can actually go to the hashtag 8 for their accessibility team, and that's going to pull up. I can follow them, and I can see what people have kind of talked about here in terms of. So this is in terms of Twitter accessibility. So I do think it's a good resource, and check it out yourself. I definitely recommend it. The application that I talked about is called Easy Chirp. So if you have some difficulty with the accessibility of the main Twitter site, you can try Easy Chirp, and they have a way to add alt text to images as well. If the application on your device doesn't work very well, you can try the mobile site through your browser on your mobile device. That might work better for you too. And again, there's third-party apps like Twitterific and Metal and TweetDeck and Buffer that all do different things. You just have to make sure that those still allow you to add alt text to be able to create accessible content. So just want to bring that information to your attention, and then kind of move on to Facebook. But just in case here, I'm just seeing, I'm going to go back to the main webinar window to make sure I don't see anybody. Anything I need to bring up exactly right now. Okay, so we will get to comments, build them in. Don't you worry about that. All right, so now I'm going to go close out Twitter and go to Facebook. And what you can see here is pretty much a fake Facebook page for the Target Center. As of right now, we have not been authorized to have our own Target Center Facebook page, but I set one up anyway, just a private one just for this training today. So again, the first thing you need to know is, well, are there any settings that you need to turn on? And in the case of Facebook, you do not. The ability to do alt text is built right into the way the platform is built, which I guess is a good thing. It's hard to know. But in other words, you don't add alt text inside of this. You add it to what you have. So if I say I'm going to share a great photo of, and then I select the photo I'm going to share, I have to kind of go through my pictures and find that, so, and then share it. So for example, we had our remote presence robot go to an event. I have that photo here. When I upload it, I can see a thumbnail of it, and I can tag things in the photo, but I can't add alt text. There's no way to add alt text because Facebook says, well, just put it. There's no limit to how many words you can write. In Twitter, you only get 140 characters, so they had to have another way for you to add alt text for a photo. In Facebook and in Instagram, you can write so many words in your post, as you've seen people do, that's where it's expected that you have the description. So here I say that I'm sharing a great photo of myself as a robot at a health fair event in Minneapolis. So I gotta think about, what am I trying to say? You really gotta think about, what am I trying to write here? I want to show that I'm a robot, but is that really gonna give somebody the information that they want? Maybe they want, I need to describe the robot, that it's an iPad on a stick on wheels. But then the longer description that I write, the more redundant it seems to the sighted users viewing the same content. So it's really, what is the essential information that I need to share there, and how do I balance that to have a great post that's useful to all? And I think that's a lot of what we're talking about with accessible, I cannot say accessible today, sorry, accessible social media. And that is, how can we do things as universally as possible? So I understand Twitter has to have a workaround to the 140 characters, but I do think it's interesting that that the alt text or the description of a video even is all considered to be part of the posting within Facebook. So that's what you do, and that's how you paste alt text, post alt text. The other thing, of course, that you can do within Facebook is that you can have live video. So that's another thing that you might do. You might do a Facebook Live right inside here, or you might upload a video. The video you can do captioning. So when I say share a photo or video, I can upload a video. I just need to find one. And which is odd, because I know I found one before. All right, here we go. So I have some other discovery series that we've done, or some other things we share. Oh, here are our partners at CAP. I don't want to put theirs up there, but so I'm just going to upload another video. And so while I'm doing that, it's adding the video. I can add a custom thumbnail if I want. But then the next tab over is captions. And then I can upload an SRT file. That's a captioning file. I actually have one of those here, even though it's not for the same video, so that's confusing. I'm just trying to let you know that that's how you can do it. So you upload the video here in Facebook before you even publish it. Then you can go to captions, and as long as you've either done it yourself, or maybe you had a live event and you saved the captions like we do for these discovery series, or you paid someone to write captions for you, you get it in an SRT file. So that's it. That's the only accessibility feature you got to worry about in there. Again, you should probably create an audio described video, but if not, you should at least in the main area kind of describe the main things that people are seeing from the video. So describe as much as possible, upload the video, upload the captions, and that's how you do those videos. And then, like I said, there's also Facebook Live. So that's another thing that you can do. So let me go to that. We don't use Facebook Live, but they have recently announced, June 6th, I guess, that was this week, that you can now do closed captions in Facebook Live, which is great. But you have to be a publisher. So you'll have to turn on captioning as the user in Facebook, and then you have to go ahead and be a publisher who is set up with Facebook to have kind of captions embedded. When we talk about YouTube, it's a little differently. You can't just easily do captions the same way. So you do have to be set up to do it. You can't just do it from your phone when you're somewhere and you see somebody famous walk by and all of a sudden live stream that and caption it in real time or anything like that. But if you're set up to do it, you have Captioner hired and everything's set up and connected, you have the right hardware and software, then yes, you can now do Facebook Live captioning. So that is great to know and to be aware of. There's another great tool that you may have heard of. It was in the news somewhat recently for Facebook accessibility, and it's called automatic alt text, and that helps visually impaired people understand what's happening in photos. It's using some artificial intelligence, I guess, to look at a picture and try to provide some information. It was most recently updated, I think, in February. So if you take a photo and you upload it, you can have it analyzed. Now again, the best thing to do, hey, provide alt text for your photos in the actual content of the post. But if you're not doing that, or if you're just a user and your friends are sharing pictures of their kids playing sports, you'll be able to, it should recognize something like a baseball player or a soccer ball. So that's called automatic alt text. I don't know what happens if I just do that. What'll come up? You really can't understand it unless you have. No, yeah, none of this is working. So I'm going to just stop that before I go somewhere I shouldn't go during this presentation. So automatic alt text. If you are a screen reader user, you've probably tried it out already. But if not, if you're just curious, the best way to do this would be to have the latest Facebook on your device, on your smartphone, on your iOS device, and then make sure that you have that feature enabled. And then whenever you're turn on VoiceOver in the accessibility settings on your iPhone, and there you can just try it. Just kind of touch the photo and hear what the automatic alt text is for it. If you want to try that out yourself. So definitely recommend checking it out. It is pretty cool. But again, from a business perspective, you can't expect people to use that. That's sort of a great feature for Facebook to offer. But as a business here in the federal government, especially, we still have to provide that alt text, that additional information. All right. So that's Facebook. I think that's everything. Let me just double check here. I don't want to forget anything. All right. Yeah, so again, we talked about using the screen reader. You can use a magnification. It works with the magnification that you already have on your device. And within the videos, you can turn captions on. And so that's how you use Facebook. Again, sometimes you can use a third-party app to access Facebook content, but in most cases you're going right into facebook.com or the Facebook mobile apps, which have all this accessibility. Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on towards Instagram. And Instagram, and I just want to make sure that, okay, it is sharing correctly. So Instagram, I'm showing you my web page with my hundreds and thousands of followers on Instagram, but basically, and I'm Pauloy, by the way, if I have not introduced myself. I am the Education Program Manager here at the Target Center. I do majority of these Discovery series, and I also interview our guests for our Removing Barriers podcast series. And I try to keep my self out of it mostly, but I do not have a Target Center Instagram account to use, so I'm using my own. Instagram account to kind of show you. If you have not used Instagram before, it's very interesting, but the main idea behind Instagram is that you are posting a photo or a video or maybe a story. But the only reason I wanted to show you it here on the browser wall, because this is what I can share with you, is to kind of bring up the next page. When you click on a photo or select a photo and press enter, you see the photo, and to the right you see whatever information is typed there. So here in a post, this was, and Instagram is meant to be used from your phone, only from your phone. You can view it on the web, but you're supposed to post everything from the phone. So I posted a photo of the new spy museum that is going up near L'Enfant Plaza. You can see it being built, and I wrote, "This beautiful steel is apparently a new spy museum." Well, I have a typo there, but I'm not going to read that out loud. So kind of describing the picture, that it's steel, and that is the spy museum. In this case, there's buses in front of it, there's a light bulb. I don't think there's any more information that's really necessary. The only question, I guess, is, should I say that it's large? How else should I describe it? Not sure. And again, with Instagram, you're also thinking of, okay, what hashtags can I use to get other people to, click on it and like it, so I can feel good about myself, or so I can engage for my brand or for my organization. So you got to think about those things as well. But there is no alt texting of a photo, just like in Facebook. It's in this area where you can type in Instagram that you need to describe all the key information. You can't put links or anything like that. You can only put words and hashtags. But you can definitely describe everything in the photo or in the image. So that is how you do your alt text for Instagram. And it's just photos and maybe videos, and you can do stories. Now I can't show you stories, but if any of you have it on your phone or are Instagram users, it's kind of like Snapchat, which we'll talk about, where I can go in and anyway, let me just start from the beginning with Instagram. In Instagram, there's two different things you're doing. You're either flicking through photos in your feed of things that are interesting to you, and you see the pictures and you read the captions. And then you can also search, what else is popular, etc. And then you can also share photos, take them in real life, photos or videos, or from your library. And when you do that, you can add filters and whatnot, but you cannot, add alt text. So you have to do it in that caption, in the caption for the whole picture. Things to keep in mind: people who are, you use a filter that's black and white. That might be very, very useful to see what it would look like to someone who's colorblind. If you're trying to share some information, you're probably not doing this on Instagram, but if you're going to share like a graph, make sure that if you look at it through the black and white filter, you can still understand the whole graph, so that someone who's colorblind will be able to have all the same takeaways. Otherwise, you don't really have to worry about that. In Instagram, mostly you're just posting nice pictures or videos. So just make sure the description is useful and correct. But what stories do is they allow you to just do this just for a minute. Just for a day, I guess it is. You can post a picture, or you can do something that's called a video boomerang, which is just sort of like maybe 4 seconds of video on a loop. So it kind of bounces back and then plays again, and then bounces back and plays again. But it's only available to your followers for a certain amount of time, and then it disappears. So that is kind of like Snapchat. And so if you are really committed to social media accessibility, here's where I want to take you through. And this actually came from USA Gov. Some tips on, this was for Snapchat stories, but it makes sense for Instagram stories. If you're really sharing this, not just you quickly see something, you're posting it up for your friends, but you're doing it for your business, your government agency, you have to plan it in advance. You have to plan it with accessibility in mind. It has to be a succinct story. It's recommended that maybe you storyboard it, first. The language should be clear and consistent. You should have a beginning and an end to what you're trying to tell. And so you have to kind of create your story and then download it from Snapchat, which is an option that you can have. And then once you've saved it, now you can actually make it accessible. So the first thing you would do, of course, is create audio description, voiceover for the video. So everything that's visual there, someone who's blind has no access to, you would create audio of that, and you would kind of lay that over the actual video. We've done that for some of our videos in YouTube. We need to be doing it more. Even people who do captioning and other great accessibility work, audio description seems to be the last frontier. But you could do it for Instagram or for Snapchat. And then once you do that, you can also get the captions, and so that when you're done, you can share in Snapchat a video with audio description and with captions. So just something to think about. Of course, at the same time, you could just be using something like YouTube where it's easier. So it's hard to help you make the decision, what social platform should I be using, and just because it could be made accessible, is that really the best tool for me? Or is your approach, well, I'm going to use everything, and I want to know how to make something accessible for everything? Well then, yeah, if you're going to use everything, then you need to know how to make it accessible. So again, I don't have a Snapchat account to show you, but it's kind of, and Instagram stories I can't show you because it's not on the web, just on the phone. But they work similarly, and in most cases for true accessibility, you kind of have to create it, download it, add that accessibility, and then bring it back up. So just something to be aware of. Alright, so that's Instagram, that's Snapchat, that's Facebook and Twitter. The last thing I want to show you is YouTube. So Target Center has a YouTube page, youtube.com/targetdiscovery, and we're pretty happy with our YouTube page. We do the videos of these Discovery Series webinars, and we share other content that is playing outside the Target Center, and we have our Experienceability Removing Barriers series going up there. A lot of good content. I recommend you check it out and learn some more. But again, everything that's up here has to be accessible. So, how do we do that? And in terms of what do you really need to do, what's the first thing you need to do? Well, the videos must be closed captioned. Any video you post needs to be closed captioned. So we do that for YouTube Live. We stream live and have the captions be live and just record that, and the recording automatically has the captions. For pre-produced content here in the center that we film and edit, and then we upload to YouTube, there's a service called Automatic Sync, and they are not the only service that does this, but Automatic Sync has something called Caption Sync, where I can log in and I can just give it links to YouTube videos, and they will transcribe it, caption it, and if you give them access, they'll send it right to your YouTube file, so you don't have to do anything else other than approve the transcript. And then you have captions in YouTube. And of course, everyone knows there's a captioning button on any YouTube video that you can know how to play. So if I click on my YouTube video and I start to watch it,
demonstration of the screen reader built into Android Lollipop as running on the Nexus 6.
I see good video here, and I can turn on or off the subtitles. I do think that I feel like we did do one. I should have prepared this in advance, but I feel like we did do an audio described video. Yeah, we did. We did something called a. Okay, I believe so. We did a playlist here for what we called AT in DC, where we went to some pretty cool locations in DC and filmed videos. Let's see. I'm gonna go to one. Yeah, this one is. So this one's called AT in DC KNFB Reader iOS. This is on our YouTube page. You can find it. You can just search hashtag AT in DC, and but one of them is audio described. So not only does it, if you listen to it, not only
across the city street, brick Lincoln Theater next to White Row House with signs for Ben's Chili Bowl, Washington landmark since 1958. Next, a man speaks and pulls out an iPhone.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm here at Ben's Chili Bowl in the Greater U Street corridor.
Okay, so that's probably really hard to follow through screen sharing, but you know, we had the video started off
across the city street, brick Lincoln Theater next to
with someone saying across the street, Brink Lincoln Theater. Now, this one's not captioned. Those were the auto captions. That's why they were inaccurate. So what we did was we posted a video with captions and then a video with audio descriptions. You could just post a video with everything, but most people like to. There's no way to have to turn on or off audio description, so you have to most people upload a separate video for audio description, and then you have to describe all the essential information on the screen in the pauses between text. So it's kind of an art. We are not experts, but we gave it a try with this series. So you can kind of look at the different videos and see the differences to kind of get an idea about audio description. So if you're sharing on YouTube, you want to have the captions and you want to have the audio description. Now, as a YouTube user, I can go into the video manager and I can find one of our videos. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek here. We have some video tours that are going to be coming out with a new mini site that we're releasing in a month or so. So these are not to the public yet, but they are on my YouTube here and I can go to it. And we have a demo of a 3D printer. Okay, and so in that video, I can do a couple of things for accessibility if I'm sharing it. First of all, there is a tab for subtitles and closed captions. So if I click on that, it's going to pull up the video, and I'm going to see that there's already published captions. YouTube did automatic captions for this video. Now, most people will say those are never accurate enough. YouTube will say they're like 92% accurate with good audio. So maybe there's some differences in opinion there. But I'm going to show you that what you can do with that in a minute. But first of all, let's assume you want to do this right. And you use a company like Automatic Sync. Or let's say you just have, this video is 2 minutes and 28 seconds long. So I could actually say add new subtitles. I could say English. And I could actually transcribe and auto sync it myself. And with that, I would just play the video, and when I hear whoever speak, I would type the words. And I would basically transcribe it right here in YouTube. And when I'm done, I just set the timing. And it will automatically line up the voice with the video.
This is our newest.
So that's pretty cool. Alternatively, I could upload a file that I already have, or I could, type the whole transcript in, or I can buy subtitles from one of their, maybe suggested vendors, or again, you can upload a file from that third-party vendor. So you can caption it yourself, have someone else caption it, or buy something right through there. That's kind of integrated. Actually, this service will no longer be available, it says. So you are learning at the same time as me that in this June here, you can no longer do these purchasing captions right here inside. But lucky for us, you know about Caption Sync or other technologies where you can do that. I guess that wasn't working for them. All right, so that's that. Some other things to be aware of in terms of YouTube accessibility are just for doing live streaming. So we're going to finish with this. Target Center has a live stream next week. So I can create a new live event right here. This is with the AAPD. It's part of our Removing Barriers series. So I think it's called Designing Accessible Internship Programs. I can always change it later, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm adding the basic info on the YouTube listing page. It's going to be next Thursday, same time, same bat place. And then I put in my description, put in whatever tags, etc. And I create my event. So this is now scheduled in YouTube. And within there, I have to do what are called my ingestion settings. And so here's where I select my actual encoder. Now in a lot of cases, you're using a third-party encoder like we are, or maybe you're using software on a device, or you can actually do streaming from your phone, your iPhone, for example, with YouTube. But in this case, if I scroll to the bottom, follow me here, there's closed captions. And so there's two kinds of closed captions. One is posting a caption to a URL, and one is embedded captions. That's when it comes from a vendor. They're doing the video and the captions are coming through the same way. But in this case, I'm going to post captions to a URL. And here we use a third-party service to do live captions for our YouTube Live. And then I had to provide our service provider with this link, and then they go ahead and caption our event live. So that's how you set up live captioning for YouTube live videos. So you can add captions to uploaded content, and you can have the live captions. And otherwise, you don't, other than maybe doing audio description, there are no other YouTube considerations. So that's what we wanted to cover in terms of accessible social media. Hopefully give you a good overview, some specific things you can do, as well as some big picture ideas. I did see a couple of comments that I kind of didn't build in, but I wanted to mention here at the end before we sign off. So again, if anyone else wants to use Q&A to add any comments or questions, feel free. But you know, one of the best questions we got is about alt text. And can you save alt text in images so they're already saved to the image themselves? And then you don't have to, you know, when you upload them, it's already there. Man, that would be amazing. I don't know how photos on the web work, JPEGs or GIFs, but if built into the format, when you created it, you could add alt text, that would be amazing. You cannot do that right now. It's an amazing idea. Now that being said, I mentioned a program called Buffer. And if Buffer, Buffer might hold the key to this. So I'll have to ask them about this. But if I share my screen one more time, I'm going to go back to Chrome here for a second. I'm going to go to Buffer. Not Buffalo Wild Wings is what came up there. I am getting a little hungry. Alright, so if I go to Buffer, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong shared screen here. Bear with me, I definitely want to show you this. Okay. So I have this Snapchat information that I was sharing with you. But now I have Buffer open. So Buffer allows me to schedule future tweets for the Target Center. I don't have it on right now because it costs money. But I can have my own personal Twitter also part of it. But I can also have Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram if I want. So I can post the same picture to multiple accounts through Buffer. But right now I cannot do alt text. But they said to me that alt text is on their product roadmap. And so if so, that is the closest I can think of. It would be even better if you could just have it in your photos, so even on your website it's like that. But it doesn't work that way. Maybe that could happen someday, but otherwise you're going to have to use a tool like Buffer, who promised to be able to do alt text for Twitter. I don't know if it would be the same for all of them. Again, for Facebook and Instagram, you're supposed to not even have alt text, but have it as part of the post. So I guess maybe it doesn't matter as much. And maybe that's why you can't do it. But it would also be great when you create it for your website and you post a picture there, that alt text would carry everywhere. So I love that question. I'm not sure, what's going to happen with that. But I did want to share that with everybody. Yes. So everything else I think I built in. Any other questions I believe I built into my presentation. So we are going to wrap up now. Again, if you have any questions afterwards, you can email me at target-center@usda.gov. If you find what we're doing interesting, I encourage you to go to Target 365, go to our website, targetcenter.dm.usda.gov, and right under popular topics, there's not only is Target 365, but you can also start your Target experience, fill out a form, and tell us how we can help you, USDA employees especially, anywhere in the country. We're here to help you with accessibility and ergonomics, so please don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. So for those of you attending live, I am going to launch a survey for you. We would really appreciate your feedback. For those of you listening to the podcast, please give us a good rating on iTunes or Google Play or SoundCloud. Share it with others. Let them know about it. Check out our other podcasts. Let other people know. We do have some good stuff out there. And otherwise, our YouTube page also has a lot of great educational content. The one thing I wanted to do while signing off, if you will oblige me, is maybe I should have talked about SoundCloud in general, because that is kind of a new social media, right? But we did not fit that in, and that's okay. SoundCloud, of course, is where I can share content that is Target Centers. Okay, well, I'm having trouble sharing that right now. Hold on. I had dual monitors going on, which never works. So right now you can see the survey that I'm hoping you guys will fill out on your own. But since I want to tell you to check out our podcast again, you might as well just show you on SoundCloud, give you a look. All right. So if you're still with us here, we're on SoundCloud. This allows us to share podcasts on a variety of topics. And what you do, of course, is describe everything that you can during the podcast. And then on a separate site through our website, we provide access to transcripts of our content. So right now we're just kind of launching this capability. Not a ton of listens yet, but right now our spotlight is on our Removing Barriers interview with Josh Christensen of Pete, which is great. And we have some other good ones. Probably, if you're going to check out one Discovery Series one, I did mention one before, but I think what kind of works for the format the best is our commuter ergonomics one. So Discover Commuter Ergonomics, I think, makes a good podcast. Help you be ergonomic during your commute. You can listen to it during your commute as well. And then, of course, the Removing Barriers one I encourage you to check out. So just want to bring that to your attention. And thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you again on the next Target Discovery series.